Welcome back, everyone, to the With a Grain of Salt podcast, where today Spud will be taking it off.
Welcome back to the With a Grain of Salt podcast. Today, we are. I'm laughing at my own joke. That's bad. That's bad media. Today, we're going to be talking about a guy from the Soviet Union. But before I reveal who that is, even though you probably already know, please do the things we say every time. Go down to that little thing down there, that little whatever this is called. You know, that thumbs up. Maybe you
Leave a
should just give
like,
a little.
and guess what? Guess what? I'm pretty sure every time you
What's
say
that?
subscribe, it makes the subscribe button glow. So go subscribe. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Maybe leave a comment on somebody we should do or a video idea. We love
oh
to
yeah.
steal your ideas. Anyway, we're gonna talk about Viktor Bout.
But yeah. Don't forget to check out the links and all of that. Let's hop right into it. In the years following the collapse of the Soviet Union, the world entered a period of extraordinary instability. Governments fell apart almost overnight, military stockpiles were abandoned across Eastern Europe, and entire intelligence systems fractured into competing networks struggling for survival in a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. Amid this chaos emerged individuals who understood how to exploit the disorder better than governments themselves, building private empires from the remnants of the Cold War infrastructure. Among the most infamous of these figures was Viktor Bout, a former Soviet military translator who would become one of the most notorious arms traffickers in modern history. To intelligence agencies, journalists, and international investigators, Bout was represented far more than a criminal smuggler. He became a symbol of the new post-Cold War black market, a world where weapons, aircraft, money, and political influence moved across borders faster than governments could track them. So, real quick before we continue, I should say there is a few movies already about this, if you guys don't already know. I think it's called Lord of War. There's two of them. There's an older one. I haven't watched that one, and then there's I wouldn't say recent, but there's a newer one with Nicolas Cage. I'd say that one was a pretty good representation of what we're going to talk about today. So I would recommend that. It is definitely a good movie. But yeah, continuing. Over the course of the 1990s and early 2000s, Bout allegedly built a massive global logistics network capable of delivering weapons into the sum of the world's deadliest conflicts. He was accused of supplying warlords, rebel groups, dictatorships, militias, and sanctioned regimens across Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. His activities earned him several nicknames, including Merchant of Death, Sanctions Buster, and Lord of War, the latter becoming widely associated with the 2005 Nicolas Cage film loosely inspired by his life. But yeah, the Nicolas Cage film was definitely more accurate, if you will.
Okay.
It definitely added more detail.
Now that I've heard the name Merchant of Death, I think I've heard a little bit about this guy.
Yeah, you've definitely heard about this guy. That's all I could say is you've definitely heard about this guy.
Despite his global notoriety, Bout's story is not simply about one man selling weapons. It's about the collapse of empires, the privatization of violence, and the creation of international systems where war itself becomes a profitable business model. His operations influence governments, insurgencies, intelligence services, businesses, business elites, smugglers, pilots, and countless civilians trapped inside the conflicts fueled by the weapons he allegedly moved around the globe. Understanding Victor Bout means understanding how global instability created an entirely new class of international operator, one capable of functioning between legality and criminality, while exploiting the weakness of nations struggling to adapt to a post Soviet world. To understand how Bout rose to prominence, it's necessary to understand the geopolitical environment that allowed figures like him to emerge. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, it left behind enormous military stockpiles scattered across newly independent states. Weapons, aircrafts, ammo, choppers, and even military equipment suddenly existed in territories where governments were weak, corrupt, or financially desperate. Entire military industries that had once operated under centralized Soviet authority were abruptly disconnected from Moscow's funding structure. Officers were unpaid, bases were abandoned, and thousands of trained professionals entered civilian life with extensive military knowledge, but few economic opportunities.
So yeah, it really is just a case of a man saw an open market, and I believe I kind of going off the film, right? He tries immediately, right, to get into this weapons dealership by just like building a small business and then hitting up the elites. He finds out that's not going to work, right? After he finds out that's not going to work, that's when he starts going to these other countries and start trying to like make these small deals with these smaller like militias and like gangs and all of that. And then he starts building up that reputation. You know what I'm saying? And then it's just a line of connections.
It's a good way to do it if you're going to do it. Selling guns, it's a good way to just sell a little to everyone.
Oh yeah. Rather than manufacturing weapons, Bout allegedly specialized in transportation. He acquired access to Soviet-era cargo aircraft, particularly in Antonov, the Ilyushin planes, capable of operating in remote and underdeveloped regions where conventional commercial logistics systems were limited. These aircrafts became the backbone of his operations. His aviation companies reportedly changed names consistently, operated across multiple jurisdictions, and frequently re-registered aircraft to avoid sanctions and scrutiny. This fluid structure made it extremely difficult for authorities to trace ownership or establish legal accountability. By the mid-1900s, Bout had allegedly developed one of the most extensive illicit transport networks in the war.
Hold up.
So,
You gotta say 1990s, because if you say mid 1900s, they're gonna think like the 40s and 50s.
did I say mid-1900s?
You did. You
My
did
bad.
not say 1990s.
I meant to
And
say
I was like,
mid-1990s. My bad.
You had me messed up, gang. I was like,
my bad.
I was like, how's this guy operating in the 2000s if he was born in fucking 45? Well, anyway, sorry.
Bad. Investigators and United Nations reports linked his companies to armed shipments moving into numerous conflict zones, particularly across Africa. These operations reportedly involve supplying weapons to both governments and rebel organizations, often simultaneously. In conflicts where international sanctions existed, Bout allegedly specialized in circumventing embargoes through forged end-user certificates, falsified cargo manifests, and complex routing systems that conceal the true origin and destination of shipments. So, basically what that means is like when often simultaneously he was the person trying to keep the war going.
Gotcha. Yeah.
When
so
the
like
war
when one side would be losing, he would be like, "Hey, I'll cut you this deal for these cheap guns, and
there
these
you
guns
go.
are gonna help your side."
There you go. And he would say like they're top of the class, you know, they're his guns. But then
reality, it's
later down the line, I'm pretty sure he started like getting like confused, and he started getting them mixed up a little too quick too, where it was about like painting them, and one of the teams also, one of the enemies got the wrong color guns, and it kind of fucked up some of his things, but he had to clear up some things to continue business with them. But yeah, the war is how he kept his money. So if the war ended, He's no longer in business.
Exactly. It makes sense. Very, very smart. Among the conflicts were Bout's name repeatedly surfaced were the civil wars in Angola, Liberia, Syria, Lebanon, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Reports linked him to supplying factions involved in some of the bloodiest conflicts of the era, including groups accused of mass killings, child soldier recruitment, and widespread atrocities. In Liberia, Bout allegedly maintained ties to the regime of Charles Taylor, whose government became heavily associated with the illegal diamond trade and regional warfare. Investigators believed Bout's transportation infrastructure played a major role in sustaining armed groups by ensuring steady access to weapons and ammo. What made Bout particularly dangerous, according to investigators, was not merely the sale of weapons, but the efficiency of his delivery systems. Many regions where he reportedly, many regions where he allegedly operated lacked stable roads, ports, or infrastructure, yet his aircraft could reportedly land on crude runways in isolated war zones, allowing him to reach groups that governments and aid organizations struggled to access. One of the most significant aspects of Bout's story is the war his operations influenced the people around him. Or I said war, it's what I gotta reread that one. One of the most significant aspects of Bout's story is the way his operation influenced the people around him. His network reportedly included pilots, businessmen, translators, corrupt officials, cargo handlers, intelligence contacts, shell company managers, and intermediaries spread across multiple continents. For many individuals involved, sorry, I was just excited.
For many individuals involved with these networks, Bout represented opportunity rather than ideology. Former Soviet pilots who suddenly found themselves unemployed after the collapse of the USSR reportedly joined cargo operations connected to Bout because the work paid significantly more than conventional aviation jobs. In unstable regions, local officials allegedly cooperated with these operations in exchange for financial incentives or political leverage. Some governments tolerated illicit flights because they benefited economically from the traffic moving through their territories. There were also border cultural effects in certain circles about Bout became mythologized as hyper-intelligent operator capable of a
lot of big words, we got this.
Capable of outmaneuvering Western intelligence agencies and international sanctions systems. His ability to remain active for years despite global investigations contributed to his near-legendary reputation among smugglers and black market operatives.
At the same time, communities affected by the conflicts tied to these weapons experienced devastating consequences. The weapons allegedly moved through Bout's networks contributed to conflicts that displaced millions, destabilizing governments, and prolonged wars that devastated civilian populations across multiple countries. The influence of Bout's operation therefore extended far beyond his immediate network. His logistics system became part of a larger global economy of war, where violence itself generated profit for transporters, brokers, militias, and corrupt officials alike. Though Bout's rise, speculation persisted. Throughout Bout's rise, speculation persisted regarding his possible connections to intelligence services. Some journalists and investigators questioned how someone operating on such a large scale managed to evade capture for so long, despite being internationally known.
Rumors circulated for years suggesting possible ties between Bout and elements of Russian intelligence or former Soviet military structures, though definitive public evidence providing direct operational control has remained exclusive. These territories intensified because Bout reportedly possessed unusual access to aircraft, military stockpiles, and politically unstable regions where intelligence services frequently operated covertly. Some analysts argued that Bout functioned as a purely profit-driven businessman exploiting post-Soviet chaos, while others believed he operated within broader geopolitical networks where illicit arms trafficking intersected while state interests. Holy shit. Bout himself repeatedly denied many allegations against him and maintained that he was a legitimate businessman who involved in cargo transport. His supporters and defense attorneys also argued that Western governments exaggerated his role and transformed him into a symbolic supervillain, representing broader problems within international arms trafficking.
It's so crazy that the government, just because he sold weapons, don't get me wrong, it's really evil continuing wars just for money and making these people fight and like supplying them just so that you can make more money.
Course.
It's really evil, but he's not a supervillain.
I mean, if you think about it, in a way, kind of.
Not really. These people were gonna fight anyway.
There are some cases where they could have avoided it, and he instigated it. Like, the war could have ended, but he's still continuing it.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
I can't defend it anymore.
The war is over, but some people are just trying to continue it. And when someone is still supplying the weapons to continue the war, well, this ambiguity contributed heavily to Bout's mystique. Unlike many organized crime figures, he rarely appeared publicly and maintained relatively little direct media exposure during the height of his alleged operations.
By the mid-2000s, American authorities intensified efforts to capture Bout. In 2008, the Drug Enforcement Administration conducted a sting operation in Thailand, involving undercover agents posing as members of the Colombian guerrilla organization FARC, F-A-R-C. According to prosecutors, Bout agreed to provide weapons including anti-aircraft missiles intended for use against American personnel. Thai authorities arrested him in Bangkok, following the operation. The arrest became an international incident. Russia strongly opposed Bout's extradition to the United States and described the prosecution as politically motivated. Bout's legal team argued that he had been entrapped through an elaborate sting operation in which no actual weapons changed hands. Even the sentencing judge later noted that there was little evidence Bout would have committed crimes against the Americans absent the specific circumstances created by the DEA operation. This became one of the central arguments used by supporters who claimed Bout's prosecution relied heavily on manufactured jurisdiction.
Despite these arguments, Bout was convicted in federal court in Manhattan in 2011 on charges including conspiracy to kill Americans and providing material support to a terrorist organization. He received a 25-year prison sentence. Bout's global notoriety expanded dramatically over the release of Lord of War, starring Nicolas Cage. While the film was fictionalized, many observers believed the main character was heavily inspired by Bout's life and reputation. I don't know why it says it was fictionalized, because that, I'm not kidding you, that is literally like bar for bar what this man has wrote. So the film transformed Bout from a relatively obscure figure known mainly within intelligence and security circles into a recognizable cultural symbol representing international arms trafficking. This portrayal had a complicated effect. On one hand, it increased awareness of illicit weapons networks, and the role provided traffickers played global conflicts. On the other hand, it contributed to mythologicalizing of Bout as an almost cinematic anti-hero figure operating above governments and laws.
Online communities, documentaries, and geopolitical forums frequently debated whether Bout was truly exceptional or simply the most visible representation of the much larger and less visible system involving governments, corporations and intelligence-backed logistics networks. In 2022, Bout returned to the global headlines when the United States exchanged him for the WNBA player Brittany Griner. This is what I was thinking of, by the way.
Yeah.
Who had been imprisoned in Russia on drug charges. The swap
Mhm.
became one of the most high-profile prisoner exchanges between Russia and the United States in recent years. Yeah, I was about to say, this was a big stink when they traded this random WNBA player just because she smoked pot in Russia for the Merchant of Death.
Yep. Yep.
But
Dude, I shit you not, that still, like, upsets me to this day. I don't understand. It makes no sense. That man literally kept wars going for years. Years. Even after the war ended. And then they trade him. And you know what? Let's not get political.
Yeah, the decision sparked a major political debate as critics argued that the United States had released one of the most dangerous traffickers, while supporters emphasized the importance of bringing the detained Americans home. Listen, I don't agree with trading a basketball player for...
Wasn't it because she smoked pot?
Yep.
She was smoking pot. So, let me tell you, that sounds like it was her issue.
It was because she somehow got pot into Russia and was smoking it in Russia and got caught.
So you shouldn't even be on the WNBA anyway. So at that point, you're just literally a random civilian.
I don't even think she rejoined the WNBA. I don't think they let her because of the pot charges. So, like, it was literally just to bring another American home. Okay, I am getting political. There have been soldiers that they were willing to trade for the Merchant of Death, and the presidents were like, nah, we're good. So, like, anyway, that's all I'm going. After returning to Russia, Bout entered politics and aligned himself with the nationalist political circles. See, clearly we made the right choice.
In later reports... Stop it. My turn. In later reports, allegations emerged that Bout may have resumed involvement in weapons negotiations connected to the Houthis in Yemen. Though Bout denied these claims and Russian officials dismissed them as false, these allegations reinforced the belief among many analysts that Bout remained deeply connected to international arms networks despite years of imprisonment. The story of Viktor Bout...
good. It is Houthis. It's Houthis.
Is it? Okay. The story of Viktor Bout is not simply the story of an individual criminal, it is the story of a world transformed by collapsing empires, privatized warfare, global corruption, and international systems unable to fully control the flow of weapons across borders. Bout allegedly thrived because he understood something governments often failed to grasp during the post-Cold War era, which was the logistics could become more powerful than ideology. By controlling transportation, aircraft, routes, and access, he allegedly positioned himself at the center of conflicts spanning multiple continents. His influence extended beyond weapons themselves. He shaped networks of pilots, brokers, corrupt officials, smugglers, and political actors who became a part of a globalized underground economy built around conflict and instability. At the same time, Bout's story also revealed how modern warfare increasingly operates through hidden infrastructure rather than formal battlefields alone. Behind every militia, insurgency, or sanctioned regimen exists a supply chain, and individuals like Bout allegedly mastered the art of making those supply chains invisible.
Whether viewed as a criminal mastermind, geopolitical scapegoat, intelligence-connected operator, or symbolic product of post-Soviet chaos, Bout remains one of the most significant figures ever associated with modern illicit arms trafficking, a man whose operations allegedly touch conflicts across the globe. while influencing the lives of countless people who operated within, profited from, or suffered because of the systems he helped sustain. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this video, please do all the stuff we said at the beginning, like, subscribe, go in the comments, leave a little toot toot. Check out the links in our description.
Don't forget
And,
to
remember-
take it all with a grain of salt. And we'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.